What if I told you that the reason you're struggling financially has absolutely nothing to do with how hard you work, how many hours you put in, or even how smart you are with money? But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. Here's something that might shock you. Your bank account right now is nothing more than a mirror reflecting back the exact words you've been speaking about money for years. Every casual complaint about being broke, every worried conversation about bills, every time you've said, "I can't afford it," or "money is tight," you've been unconsciously programming your financial reality through the power of your own voice. Has this ever happened to you? You work incredibly hard, maybe even multiple jobs, you follow all the financial advice, you budget and save, yet somehow you always seem to end up in the same place financially. You look around and wonder why some people seem to effortlessly attract wealth, while you're constantly struggling to make ends meet. What you're about to discover might surprise you, but the answer isn't found in working harder or finding better investment strategies. The truth is, there's an invisible law at work that most people never learn about, a spiritual principle that governs how money flows into your life. This law doesn't care about your education, your background, or even your current circumstances. It responds to one thing only: the words that consistently come out of your mouth. Think about it for a moment. How many times today have you already spoken words of lack? Maybe you said, "I'm broke," or "I can't afford that," or "money is so tight right now." Each time you speak these words, you're not just describing your situation, you're actually creating it. Your financial condition is quite literally the visible echo of your invisible decree. Stay with me until the end, because what I'm about to share with you will fundamentally change how you think about money forever. This isn't about positive thinking or wishful manifestation. This is about understanding a precise spiritual law that has been transforming lives for decades, based on the revolutionary teachings of Florence Scovel Shinn, whose students discovered that money doesn't follow effort, it follows speech. The most successful people in the world, whether they realize it or not, have mastered this one simple principle. They speak differently about money. They declare abundance instead of lack. They proclaim prosperity instead of poverty. And their bank accounts reflect exactly what they've been speaking into existence. Right now, in this very moment, you have the power to begin rewiring your entire financial future simply by changing what comes out of your mouth. The technique you're about to learn takes just minutes a day, requires no special skills or background, and yet it has the power to transform your financial reality in ways that might seem impossible. But here's what makes this different from everything else you've tried. If these insights are shifting how you think about money and abundance, you'll definitely want to subscribe to this channel. I regularly share these deeper spiritual principles that actually create real-world financial results, the kind of content that bridges divine truth with practical transformation. Most financial advice operates purely from human logic. It tells you to be realistic, to calculate every move, to doubt big dreams because they seem impossible. Your rational mind has been trained to look at your current bank balance and say, "This is what's real. This is what I have to work with." But what if I told you that this very mindset is exactly what's keeping you trapped in financial limitation? There's a hidden truth that successful people understand, often without even realizing it. While human reason calculates and postpones, there's a divine law operating on a completely different frequency. This law doesn't care about your credit score, your current income, or what seems logical based on your circumstances. It's waiting, right now, for your voice to permit it and your decree to authorize it to transform your financial reality. Think about this for a moment. Every major breakthrough in human history happened because someone dared to speak possibilities that seemed impossible to everyone else. The Wright brothers didn't have a logical reason to believe humans could fly, but they spoke it into existence anyway. Every innovation, every transformation, every leap forward started with someone declaring something that defied conventional wisdom. Now, I want to go even deeper into this revelation because there's an ancient story that perfectly illustrates how this spiritual law works in the most desperate circumstances. There was a widow who had nothing left but a handful of meal and a little oil. Logic said she was doomed. Common sense said she should hoard what little she had. But when a prophet instructed her to give from her lack as if it were abundance, something miraculous happened. She didn't let her empty cupboards dictate her decisions. She didn't allow her financial reality to control her actions. Instead, she spoke through her circumstances and acted on faith rather than fear. The result? Her supply became inexhaustible. The meal never ran out, the oil never failed, because she gave the word first place over her visible conditions. This is the exact same principle that can revolutionize your financial journey today. When you give your spoken word first place, when you declare abundance despite what your bank statement says, when you refuse to let current circumstances dictate your future possibilities, supply cannot withhold itself from you. It becomes bound to appear because you've aligned yourself with a law that operates beyond the limitations of human logic. The transformation happens the moment you stop negotiating with your current reality and start decreeing your desired outcome. Your words become the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. Every declaration of wealth, every statement of abundance, every time you speak prosperity over your life, you're actually issuing commands to the universe that must be fulfilled. Most people have been unconsciously using this law in reverse, speaking limitation, and wondering why their lives reflect exactly what they've been saying. But once you understand how to flip this process, once you discover the precise words and the exact timing that activates this divine principle, everything begins to shift. Write in the comments, "I choose abundance," if you're ready to discover exactly how to speak your way into supernatural financial supply. The reason most people never experience this transformation is because they've got the entire process backwards. They're waiting to see evidence before they'll speak abundance. They want to see the money in their account before they'll declare themselves wealthy. They need proof before they'll believe. But here's the revelation that changes everything. The spiritual law operates in the exact opposite direction. While your logical mind insists, "Let me wait until I see more evidence, let me be cautious until conditions improve," the divine principle declares something completely different. It says, "Speak first, and then you shall see." Your voice must lead, not follow your circumstances. This is the fundamental shift that separates those who break through financial barriers from those who remain stuck in the same patterns year after year. Consider this carefully. Every single thing that exists in your physical world right now was first spoken into existence. Your house, your car, your relationships, your current financial situation, all of it began as words, as declarations, as spoken intentions. The problem is that most of your financial declarations have been unconscious, negative, and limiting. You've been speaking your current reality into existence without even realizing it. But what if you could harness this creative power consciously? What if you could deliberately use your voice to reshape your financial future? The impact would be immediate and undeniable, because you'd finally be working with universal law instead of against it. Here's what's fascinating about this process. There's something almost magical that happens when you commit to silencing the logic that starves and opening your mouth in faith that feeds. For just 12 days, imagine what would unfold if you refused to let rational thinking dictate your declarations. What if you spoke abundance regardless of what your bank statement showed? What if you declared prosperity despite what your current income suggested? The truth is, all of heaven would break loose to attend your word. Angels of provision would rush to fulfill your spoken decree. The windows of supply, which never actually closed from above but only seemed blocked by your agreement with limitation, would swing wide open to the sound of your voice. This isn't about pretending your current situation doesn't exist. This is about understanding that your current situation is temporary and completely subject to change based on what you consistently speak over your life. Behind the scenes of every financial breakthrough, you'll find someone who dared to speak their desired outcome before they had any logical reason to believe it was possible. The journey from lack to abundance always begins with a decision to trust your voice more than your visible circumstances. It requires you to become comfortable with declaring what you want rather than describing what you currently have. This shift in mindset creates a ripple effect that touches every area of your financial experience. Most people have never experienced the true power of their spoken word because they've never tested it consistently. They might speak abundance once or twice, But when they don't see immediate results, they go back to their old patterns of lack-based conversation. They don't realize that transformation happens through sustained declaration, through refusing to let temporary appearances override their divine destiny. Write, "I speak first," in the comments if you're beginning to understand how your voice can become the key that unlocks unlimited financial supply. The breakthrough happens when you understand that every fear-based statement you've been making can be instantly replaced with a faith-filled declaration. Right now, your unconscious mind has been programmed to say things like, "Hold on tight" when money feels scarce, or "I hope this works out" when facing financial pressure. But here's the hidden truth about transformation. You can literally substitute these automatic responses with statements that align with abundance. Instead of gripping tightly to what little you have, you can train yourself to declare, "I release with joy and I receive with grace." Rather than constantly negotiating with your financial past, rehearsing old failures and limitations, you can begin announcing your abundant future aloud. This shift creates an immediate impact on your subconscious mind, which doesn't distinguish between what you're remembering and what you're declaring as your new reality. The revelation goes even deeper when you realize that most people have been carving grooves of lack in their minds for years, sometimes even generations. These mental pathways have been worn smooth by constant repetition of limitation-based thoughts and words. Your family might have passed down phrases like, "Money doesn't grow on trees," or "We can't afford that." These aren't just innocent expressions. They're spiritual decrees that have been shaping your financial destiny behind the scenes. If this message has resonated with something deep inside you, if you feel like you've discovered a missing piece of your financial puzzle, go ahead and hit that like button. It lets me know these deeper teachings are connecting with people who are truly ready for change. But here's what changes everything. You can take what Florence Scovel Shinn called the holy scalpel of truth and deliberately carve new grooves in your mind and mouth. This is surgery of the soul, a conscious decision to interrupt old patterns and install new ones. You cannot continue saying, "I am broke," while simultaneously expecting wealth to flow into your life. The universe responds to your dominant declarations, not your occasional hopes. Think about the profound impact this has on your daily experience. Every time you catch yourself about to speak lack, you now have the power to pause and choose a different response. When bills arrive, instead of saying, "I can't afford this," you can declare, "Divine supply meets every need." When unexpected expenses arise, rather than panicking with, "Where will this money come from?" you can confidently state, "Money flows to me from expected and unexpected sources." This journey of transformation requires you to become consciously aware of the words flowing from your mouth throughout each day. Most people have no idea how much limitation they speak because these patterns have become so automatic. But once you begin paying attention, once you start catching yourself in the act of cursing your own financial future, you can immediately course correct with declarations that align with prosperity. The mindset shift happens gradually as you consistently choose abundance-based language over lack-based language. Your subconscious mind begins to accept these new patterns as truth, and your external circumstances start reflecting this internal transformation. What seemed impossible when you were speaking from fear becomes inevitable when you're declaring from faith. Now, I want to reveal exactly how this process unfolds when you commit to specific daily declarations that literally rewire your relationship with money. Write "I choose new words" in the comments if you're ready to replace every fear-based statement with declarations that attract unlimited financial supply. This transformation process isn't just about changing your vocabulary or playing word games. What you're engaging in is literal surgery of the soul, a precise spiritual procedure that cuts away old limitations and grafts new possibilities into your consciousness. The impact of this process has rescued countless lives, not through dramatic interventions or complex strategies, but through the deceptively simple substitution of one phrase for another. Consider the profound shift that happens when you replace "I can't afford it" with "It is done." These aren't just different words. They're completely different realities. When you say I can't, you're declaring limitation as your truth and closing the door to possibilities. But when you declare it is done, you're operating from a place of completion, speaking as someone who already possesses what they desire. The most fascinating aspect of this journey is that you don't need to feel overwhelming belief when you begin speaking these new declarations. In fact, most people start this process with trembling voices and uncertain hearts. The revelation is that you must speak for the thing you've asked for, even when no belief is stirring yet within you. Your voice, when saturated with rhythm and faith, shapes the atmosphere around you faster than your logical mind can comprehend or keep up with. Think about what happens behind the scenes when you consistently speak prosperity over your life. Every declaration creates vibrations that ripple out into the invisible realm where all possibilities exist. These spoken words begin gathering the people, circumstances, and opportunities that will manifest your desires in the physical world. The universe starts reorganizing itself to match the frequency of your declarations. This is why the mindset shift must happen at the level of your voice first, not your feelings. Your emotions will catch up to your declarations, but you can't wait for your emotions to lead the way. The decision to speak abundance, regardless of how you feel, internally creates a bridge between where you are and where you want to be. What's remarkable is how quickly this process begins working once you commit to it fully. Your subconscious mind doesn't argue with what you consistently declare. It simply accepts your spoken word as truth and begins creating circumstances that align with your declarations. The transformation happens from the inside out, starting with your words and gradually affecting every aspect of your financial experience. Most people never discover this hidden truth because they're waiting to feel different before they'll speak differently. But the spiritual law operates in reverse. You speak differently first, and then you begin to feel and experience the changes. Your voice becomes the catalyst that triggers everything else. Now, I want to reveal the exact daily practice that activates this transformation and show you precisely how to structure your declarations for maximum impact on your financial reality. Write "My voice shapes reality" in the comments if you're beginning to understand how your spoken words literally surgery your financial future into a new dimension of possibility. The moment of true transformation arrives when you're willing to declare your wealth with the force and certainty of thunder that refuses to be silenced. This isn't about whispering affirmations or hoping quietly for change. This is about speaking with such conviction that the very atmosphere around you shifts in response to your voice. You must be willing to say aloud, with unwavering power, "I am rich, I am rich, I am rich." The key is repetition with absolute authority. You speak these words until the shadow of doubt leaves your consciousness. You declare them until every lie you've believed about your financial limitations shatters completely. You continue until your inner world breaks open and reveals the abundant reality that has always been waiting for your recognition. Behind the scenes of every major financial breakthrough, you'll find someone who dared to speak their desired identity before they had any evidence to support it. They understood that their voice carries creative power, that their declarations literally sculpt their future reality. The impact of this practice extends far beyond the words themselves. It rewires your entire relationship with abundance. But here's where most people miss the deeper revelation about timing and strategic declaration. Your first word each morning is your first wave of creative energy, your first swing of the spiritual scepter that commands your day. The decisions you make in those precious moments after waking determine whether you'll live from a place of power or be constantly reacting to circumstances. If you don't seize the throne of your morning with a royal tongue, speaking abundance and prosperity as your first conscious act, then your entire day will be hijacked by wandering thoughts, external pressures, and the chaotic energy of an unguarded mind. The transformation you're seeking requires you to become intentional about these opening moments. Think about the profound mindset shift that occurs when you train yourself to speak wealth. Before you even check your phone, before you review your to-do list, before you allow the world to tell you what kind of day you're going to have. You're literally programming the frequency of your entire day through your first spoken declarations. Most successful people, whether they realize it or not, have mastered this practice of morning dominion. They understand that the first thoughts and words set the trajectory for everything that follows. Your subconscious mind is most receptive in those early moments, most willing to accept new programming and release old limitations. The journey from financial struggle to abundance isn't just about changing what you do. It's about transforming who you become through the consistent practice of royal declaration. Every morning becomes an opportunity to speak your way into a higher dimension of financial reality. Now, I want to reveal the exact morning declaration that has transformed thousands of lives and show you precisely how to implement this practice for maximum transformation in your own financial experience. Write, "I claim my morning throne" in the comments if you're ready to begin each day by speaking abundance into existence before the world has a chance to program your mind with limitation. The profound secret behind this transformation lies in understanding that the first moments after waking are the most fertile garden gates of your soul. These precious minutes represent virgin soil where you can plant seeds of truth that will bloom throughout your entire day. When you plant abundance in these sacred moments, your whole day unfolds in harmony with your declarations, creating synchronicities and opportunities that seem to appear from nowhere. Most people completely waste this golden window of possibility. They immediately reach for their phones, flooding their consciousness with news, emails, and other people's agendas. They allow external chaos to hijack their internal compass before they've even established their own direction. But when you understand the hidden power of these morning moments, you can literally architect your entire financial reality through strategic declaration. This is the type of transformational content I bring you consistently here, revealing the hidden laws that govern wealth and showing you exactly how to apply them. Hit that subscribe button if you're ready to continue this journey of financial awakening with me. Here's the exact practice that has created miraculous transformations in thousands of lives. The moment you become conscious upon waking, before speaking to anyone, before opening your mouth for anything else, you declare with precision and authority, "This is a perfect day. Miracles now unfold in divine order. Unexpected money flows to me now." The impact of these specific words, spoken in this exact sequence, creates a vibrational frequency that magnetizes abundance throughout your day. The revelation here is that you must repeat this declaration with exactness, not emotion. You're not trying to feel overwhelming gratitude or manufacture artificial excitement. You're simply stating spiritual law with the same certainty you might state your name. The power lies not in the emotional intensity, but in the consistent precision of the spoken word. Behind the scenes, what happens when you establish this morning practice is truly remarkable. Your subconscious mind accepts these declarations as your new operating system. Every decision you make throughout the day becomes filtered through this abundance consciousness. Opportunities that would have passed unnoticed suddenly catch your attention. Conversations that would have remained surface level somehow turn toward topics of prosperity and possibility. The mindset shift occurs gradually but inevitably as you train your consciousness to expect miracles as your daily norm rather than rare exceptions. Your internal programming begins aligning with divine order instead of human chaos. The journey from struggle to supply becomes a natural progression rather than an uphill battle. What's fascinating is how this simple practice begins attracting what Florence Scovel Shinn called unexpected money. Not the money you're working for or planning for, but financial blessings that arrive through channels you never could have orchestrated through your own efforts. The universe begins moving in response to your morning decree, arranging circumstances behind the scenes that will manifest as tangible prosperity. Now, I want to dive deeper into the science behind why these specific words create such powerful results and reveal the exact timing that amplifies their effectiveness exponentially. Write "perfect day declared" in the comments if you're committed to beginning this morning practice and speaking your way into a reality where miracles and unexpected money become your daily experience. The transformation deepens when you understand that commanding your day's reality requires a complete shift in what you allow yourself to speak about. Most people wake up and immediately begin rehearsing their problems. They talk about bills that need paying, pain they're experiencing, and challenges they're facing. But when you grasp the hidden power behind your morning declarations, you realize you must refuse to give voice to limitation. Instead of speaking about bills or pain, you deliberately choose to declare something entirely different. You say with authority, "I walk into favor. Today is wrapped in divine provision. My supply precedes my step." These aren't just pretty words or positive thinking. They're strategic commands that literally reshape the energetic blueprint of your day. Every step you take becomes infused with expectation rather than anxiety. The key revelation here is that you cannot allow your bank balance to speak louder than your soul. Your current financial situation is merely a temporary reflection of past declarations, but your soul knows the truth about your unlimited potential. When you let external circumstances dictate your internal dialogue, you're programming more of the same limitation into your future experience. Behind the scenes of every financial breakthrough, there's always a moment when someone decides to stop describing their current reality and start decreeing their desired destiny. This decision represents a fundamental mindset shift from victim consciousness to creator consciousness. You stop being someone things happen to and become someone who speaks things into existence. Here's what changes everything about your journey. You're not actually broke, you're simply misprogrammed. Your subconscious mind has been running old software, ancient programming passed down through generations of scarcity thinking. But the beautiful truth is that programming can be completely rewritten through the consistent practice of bold declaration. The reprogramming process happens when you speak with morning fire, that passionate certainty that refuses to accept limitation as your permanent address. You declare with unwavering conviction, "This is a perfect day. I am perfectly provided for. Perfect substance flows to me from perfect channels." Each word rewrites another line of limiting code in your subconscious operating system. What's remarkable about this transformation is how quickly your external world begins reflecting your new internal programming. The impact isn't just psychological, it's practical and tangible. Opportunities start appearing. Money begins flowing from unexpected sources, and doors open that you never even knew existed. The science behind this process reveals that your brain literally cannot distinguish between what you're vividly declaring and what you're actually experiencing. When you speak abundance with conviction and repetition, your nervous system begins operating from abundance consciousness, attracting circumstances that match this new frequency. Now, I want to explore the deeper mystery of how expectation becomes the invisible force that actually pulls your spoken declarations into physical manifestation. Write, "I am reprogrammed" in the comments if you're ready to replace every limitation-based conversation with declarations that command favor, provision, and perfect supply to flow into your life. The deeper mystery behind this transformation reveals itself when you understand that there's an invisible spiritual oil of expectancy that begins flowing the moment you stop speaking from fear and start speaking from faith. But this isn't faith in struggle, grinding, or hustling your way to success. This is faith in divine timing and spiritual law, the unwavering certainty that abundance operates on a completely different frequency than human effort. This oil of expectancy is subtle, yet incredibly potent. It begins to flow through your consciousness, your conversations, and your daily decisions when you align your voice with divine provision rather than earthly limitation. Behind the scenes, this expectancy creates an energetic atmosphere around you that literally attracts the people, circumstances, and opportunities needed to manifest your spoken declarations. The hidden truth about those who consistently receive financial breakthroughs is that they've mastered the art of preparation before manifestation. They don't wait to see evidence before they start expecting abundance. Instead, they prepare the room, set the table, and open the window as if wealth is already walking up to their door. They understand that expectancy isn't passive hope, it's authority waiting with open arms. Think about the profound mindset shift this creates in your daily experience. When you live in this state of expectant preparation, you're no longer anxiously wondering if abundance will come. You're actively preparing for its arrival. You make space in your life for increase. You clear mental and physical clutter that might block the flow of prosperity. You begin moving and thinking like someone whose financial breakthrough is already in motion. This preparation process has a remarkable impact on your subconscious mind. When you consistently act as if abundance is on its way, your brain begins accepting this reality as fact rather than fantasy. Your nervous system starts operating from expectation rather than anxiety. The decisions you make throughout each day become filtered through abundance consciousness instead of scarcity programming. The journey from struggle to supply accelerates dramatically when you understand that expectancy is actually a form of spiritual authority. You're not begging the universe for favor. You're confidently expecting what you've already claimed through your declarations. This shift in positioning changes everything about how you approach your financial situation. Most people live in a constant state of spiritual preparation for lack, unconsciously expecting bills, problems, and financial stress. But when you flip this process and begin preparing for abundance with the same intensity, your external world has no choice but to mirror your internal expectation. Now, I want to unveil the specific expectation practice that creates an irresistible magnetic pull for lavish abundance and reveal exactly how to position yourself as someone whose supply precedes their every step. Write "I expect abundance" in the comments if you're ready to begin living in the oil of expectancy and preparing your life to receive the wealth that's already moving toward you through divine channels. The specific expectation practice that creates an irresistible magnetic pull for lavish abundance involves declaring with absolute certainty, "I expect lavish abundance, for I live in a rich, friendly universe. I expect divine provision, for my words are anchored in truth." These aren't just hopeful statements. They're spiritual facts that transform your entire relationship with money and prosperity. The revelation behind this declaration is that you must shift your fundamental perception of the universe itself. Most people unconsciously believe they live in a hostile universe that withholds good things, where money is scarce and you must fight for every dollar. But when you consciously declare that you live in a rich, friendly universe, you're aligning yourself with the truth that abundance is the natural state of creation. Think about the profound impact this mindset shift has on your daily decisions and interactions. When you truly believe you live in a rich, friendly universe, you stop approaching life from a defensive position. You stop hoarding, grasping, and trying to control every outcome. Instead, you begin moving through life with the confident expectation that the universe is conspiring in your favor, orchestrating circumstances to deliver exactly what you've spoken into existence. Show some love with a like if this conversation has opened your eyes to a completely new way of approaching abundance. Your engagement helps me understand that these spiritual wealth principles are landing with the right audience. The hidden truth behind this transformation is revealed through a powerful metaphor that illuminates exactly how spiritual law operates. Your spoken word is the oil, your expectancy is the wick, and your wealth is the flame that results when these two elements come together in perfect harmony. This isn't poetic language. It's a precise description of how manifestation actually works in the invisible realm. Behind the scenes of every financial miracle, you'll find this exact combination at work. Someone spoke words of abundance with unwavering expectation, and when their declarations met their expectancy in what Florence Scovel Shinn called holy speech, the miracle wasn't delayed or postponed. It was released immediately into the stream of divine timing, beginning its journey from the invisible realm into physical manifestation. The journey from struggle to supernatural supply accelerates when you understand that timing isn't about waiting. It's about the perfect coordination between your word and your expectancy. When these two forces align in your consciousness, when your spoken declarations are saturated with genuine expectation rather than desperate hope, you create the conditions for immediate spiritual release. Most people speak abundance but expect delay. They declare prosperity but anticipate struggle. This misalignment between word and expectancy creates spiritual static that interferes with the manifestation process. But when your expectancy matches your declarations, When you speak abundance and genuinely expect lavish provision, you eliminate all interference and create a clear channel for miracles. Now, I want to explore how this principle operates specifically in relationship to money circulation and reveal the spiritual law that ensures whatever you release returns to you, multiplied beyond your wildest imagination. Write "rich, friendly universe" in the comments if you're ready to align your expectancy with your declarations and experience the immediate release of supernatural financial supply. The spiritual law of money circulation operates on a completely different frequency than most people understand, and this creates one of the most subtle yet destructive barriers to lasting financial transformation. There's a hidden fear that haunts even those who successfully attract money, the fear that whatever comes in will eventually vanish. This creates a hesitation, a tendency to clutch and hoard rather than flow and circulate. But here's the revelation that changes everything about your relationship with money. Spirit's wealth doesn't deplete the way earthly resources do. It doesn't drain away or disappear. Instead, it circulates through the bloodstream of your spoken word, constantly renewing itself, constantly expanding, constantly returning to you in greater measure than what you released. The mindset shift happens when you understand that you're not dealing with a physical purse that empties when you spend from it. You're accessing a spiritual purse that operates on divine circulation principles. Behind the scenes of every financial miracle, there's someone who discovered this truth and began speaking accordingly. When you deliberately declare, "As money goes out, money flows in. My purse is always filled," something profound occurs. In your consciousness, you stop clutching a dying purse and start commanding the law of divine circulation. You move from scarcity-based thinking that says, "I only have so much," to abundance-based declaring that says, "More is always coming." Think about the transformation this creates in your daily financial decisions. Instead of approaching every expenditure with anxiety, wondering if you'll have enough left over, you begin spending from a place of circulation consciousness. Every dollar that flows out becomes a signal to the universe that you're ready for more, that you trust the divine economy, that you're no longer operating from fear-based hoarding. The journey from financial anxiety to financial authority happens when you realize that your purse is not made of leather or fabric. It's made of spirit. It's governed by law, not by limitation. The impact of this understanding extends far beyond your bank account. It affects how you move through the world, how you make decisions, and how you respond to opportunities. Most people treat money like a finite resource that must be carefully rationed and protected. But when you understand spiritual circulation, you begin treating money like a river that flows through your life, bringing abundance as it moves. You become a conduit for prosperity rather than a container trying to hold on to whatever little you have. Now, I want to dive deeper into the profound principle of denial and reclamation, revealing how to recover everything that seems lost and command the full restoration of your divine financial inheritance. Write, "Money flows through me," in the comments if you're ready to stop clutching a dying purse and start commanding the infinite circulation of divine abundance through your spoken word. The profound principle of denial and reclamation reveals one of the most powerful hidden truths about spiritual law. There is no loss in divine mind. Every dollar that seems to have vanished, every opportunity that appeared to slip away, every financial setback that felt permanent, none of these represent actual loss in the realm of spirit. Everything that seemed lost can be summoned again through proper alignment and strategic speech. This revelation transforms your entire approach to financial recovery. Instead of mourning what's gone or trying to figure out how to rebuild from scratch, you learn to declare with unwavering authority, "I deny loss. Nothing can be taken from me by divine right." This isn't denial in the psychological sense. It's spiritual authority that refuses to accept limitation as permanent reality. Behind the scenes of every major financial comeback, there's someone who discovered this principle and applied it with precision. They stopped seeing themselves as victims of circumstance and started operating as commanders of spiritual law. The mindset shift from "I lost everything" to "nothing real can be taken from me" creates an entirely different relationship with setbacks and challenges. The transformation deepens when you understand the crucial difference between trying to get something back versus commanding it into view. Most people approach financial recovery from a place of desperation, frantically trying to recreate what they once had. But spiritual authority operates from a completely different frequency. You don't beg for restoration, you command it through divine right. When you declare, "Nothing is missing, nothing is lost. I now reclaim it all." Through spiritual authority, you're not making a wishful request. You're issuing a decree that the invisible realm must honor. Your voice becomes the instrument through which divine law corrects what appears to be loss and reveals what was never actually gone. Think about the profound impact this has on your emotional state and decision-making process. Instead of carrying the heavy energy of loss and grief about past financial failures, you begin moving through life with the confident expectation that everything meant for you is finding its way back to you. This shift in consciousness creates space for miraculous restoration that wouldn't be possible while you're still mourning what seems missing. The journey from victim consciousness to spiritual authority requires you to stop explaining your losses and start declaring your divine inheritance. What seems lost was never actually yours to lose. It was temporarily obscured by false appearances that your spoken word has the power to dissolve. Now, I want to explore the sacred practice of tithing with your tongue and reveal how giving the first fruits of your speech creates an irresistible magnetic pull for supernatural financial increase. Write, "I reclaim it all" in the comments if you're ready to stop mourning apparent losses and start commanding the full restoration of everything that belongs to you by divine right. The sacred practice of tithing with your tongue reveals a hidden dimension of spiritual law that most people never discover. While traditional teaching focuses on giving a tenth of your money, the most sacred tithe is actually the tithe of your tongue, the first fruits of your speech offered as a pure offering unto the law that governs wealth. This practice creates an immediate transformation in your relationship with abundance because it bypasses the limitations of your current financial situation and operates purely in the realm of spiritual currency. The revelation behind this practice is that praise is the most potent form of spiritual currency you possess. Unlike money, which can be limited by your circumstances, your capacity for praise is unlimited and immediately available regardless of your bank balance. When you offer this currency first, before asking for anything, you establish yourself as someone who gives rather than just receives, someone who acknowledges abundance rather than just seeking it. Behind the scenes of every supernatural financial breakthrough, there's someone who mastered this principle of praise before petition. They understood that before you ask, you must adore. Before you plead for provision, you must proclaim the goodness that's already in motion. This creates an entirely different energetic frequency than approaching abundance from a place of need or desperation. The specific practice that transforms everything involves speaking 10 praises before making one petition. You begin by declaring things like, "I praise the riches of heaven now, pouring through my channels. I give thanks that divine supply is eternal and customized for me. I magnify the wealth of spirit that never runs dry." Each praise creates a wave of gratitude that opens spiritual channels for increased flow. Think about the profound mindset shift this creates in your daily approach to abundance. Instead of waking up focused on what you need or lack, you begin each day by acknowledging what's already flowing. Instead of immediately asking for more money, you first celebrate the divine economy that never fails. This repositions you from a beggar's consciousness to a beneficiary's consciousness. The journey from petition-based thinking to praise-based living accelerates your financial transformation because praise multiplies whatever you focus on. When you consistently praise abundance, you're literally calling more abundance into manifestation. When you magnify prosperity through your words, prosperity magnifies itself in your experience. The impact of this practice extends far beyond the immediate moment of speaking. Your subconscious mind begins operating from a foundation of gratitude rather than lack. Every decision you make throughout the day becomes filtered through abundance consciousness rather than scarcity programming. Now, I want to unveil the revolutionary principle of open channels and reveal how to speak your supply free from any limitation that has been blocking your divine inheritance. Write "I praise" first in the comments if you're ready to tithe with your tongue and discover how praise becomes the password that unlocks unlimited spiritual supply. The revolutionary principle of open channels reveals a hidden truth that transforms your entire approach to receiving abundance. There are no blocked doors in spirit, only blocked speech. Every financial limitation you've experienced, every closed opportunity, every dried-up income stream, these aren't evidence of divine withholding. They're symptoms of speech that has been unconsciously blocking the very channels through which your supply wants to flow. When you understand this revelation, you realize that your breakthrough isn't about finding new opportunities or convincing people to give you chances. Your breakthrough is about declaring with absolute authority, "Divine channels open to me now, expected and unexpected." The moment you speak this decree, you're literally commanding invisible pathways to clear themselves and align with your financial destiny. Behind the scenes of every unexpected financial blessing, there's always an open channel that was activated by someone's spoken word. The transformation happens when you stop fixating on one particular door and start commanding all doors to open simultaneously. Most people put all their faith in one job, one client, one income stream, and when that doesn't work out, they feel defeated. But spiritual law operates through unlimited channels. The profound mindset shift occurs when you learn to call money flows your channels rather than your sources. When you call something your source, you give it power over you. You become dependent on it, anxious about it, controlled by it. But when you call it your channel, you position yourself as the one in authority. Channels serve you, you don't serve them. This understanding leads to perhaps the most revolutionary concept in all of financial transformation, the universal bank. You're not a borrower of lack, desperately trying to convince institutions to lend you money. You're a divine account holder with unlimited access to spiritual supply. The journey from beggar consciousness to banker consciousness happens when you realize you can make withdrawals on divine authority. When you declare, "I make my withdrawal from the universal bank now," you're not making a wishful request. You're exercising spiritual authority that has always belonged to you. The impact of this shift is immediate and profound. You stop approaching money from a position of need and start accessing it from a place of divine inheritance. The practice becomes even more powerful when you write down your spiritual withdrawal as if it were an actual bank transaction. You document the amount, the purpose, and your expectation of fulfillment. This isn't fantasy, it's faith made visible. Your written declaration becomes a spiritual deposit slip that the universe must honor. The hidden truth is that most people have been unconsciously making deposits into the bank of lack through their fearful words and worried conversations. But when you consciously redirect your declarations toward the universal bank of abundance, you begin accessing resources that exist beyond the limitations of the earthly economy. Now, I want to reveal the sacred practice of blessed multiplication and show you exactly how to transform even your smallest financial seed into a supernatural harvest through the power of strategic declaration. Write "Divine Account Holder" in the comments if you're ready to stop borrowing from lack and start making unlimited withdrawals from the universal bank of infinite supply. The sacred practice of blessed multiplication begins with understanding that your harvest doesn't respond to the size of your seed. It responds to the blessing you speak over it. This revelation transforms everything about how you approach financial increase. You can take one single dollar, hold it in your hands, and declare with unwavering authority, "This dollar is blessed and returns to me multiplied under grace in perfect ways." The moment you speak these words over your money, you're not just giving away currency, you're launching what Florence Scovel Shinn called the thousandfold return. Behind the scenes of this practice lies a profound spiritual principle that most people never discover. Your spoken blessing activates dormant potential within that dollar. It becomes a spiritual seed that carries the DNA of multiplication rather than just the energy of transaction. The transformation happens because you've shifted from giving from fear to giving from faith, from releasing with anxiety to releasing with expectation. Think about the mindset shift this creates in your relationship with money. Instead of clutching every dollar because you're afraid there might not be more, you begin blessing and releasing money because you know with certainty that what you bless returns to you greatly multiplied. This practice breaks the scarcity programming that keeps most people trapped in financial limitation. But the deeper revelation comes when you understand that this principle extends far beyond the physical dollar in your hand. You must learn to deny appearances and speak truth in every area of your financial experience. The journey from struggle to supernatural supply requires you to stop bowing to what looks real and start standing firmly in what is real according to spiritual law. When your bank account says lack, you must train yourself to say abundance. When bills arrive declaring not enough, you respond by declaring more than enough. This isn't positive thinking or denial of reality. This is spiritual authority that refuses to let temporary appearances dictate eternal truth. The impact of this practice is immediate and profound because you're literally rewiring your consciousness to operate from divine truth rather than earthly evidence. Most people live their entire lives as slaves to appearances, letting their bank balance determine their mood, their bills determine their stress level, and their circumstances determine their declarations. But when you master the art of speaking truth regardless of appearances, you become the author of your own financial reality rather than a victim of external conditions. The hidden truth is that appearances are always temporary, but your spoken word creates permanent change in the invisible realm where all manifestation begins. Every time you choose to speak abundance despite contrary evidence, you're depositing into a spiritual account that must eventually manifest in your physical experience. Now, I want to explore the profound principle of divine design and reveal how aligning with your spiritual blueprint unlocks unlimited financial supply that flows effortlessly through your unique purpose and calling. Write, "I speak truth always," in the comments if you're ready to stop letting appearances dictate your declarations and start speaking your way into supernatural financial breakthrough regardless of what your current situation looks like. The profound principle of divine design reveals one of the most liberating truths about your financial destiny. You're not chasing something outside of yourself. You're not competing for limited resources or trying to convince the universe to give you what someone else might deserve more. Instead, you're stepping into a spiritual blueprint that was written specifically for you before you were even born. When you declare with absolute certainty, "I now step into the divine design of my life. My supply, clients, creativity, and calling all arise now because I arise in truth." You're not making a hopeful request. You're announcing your arrival into the life that has always been waiting for you. The transformation happens because you stop trying to force doors that were never meant for you and start walking through the ones that swing open at the sound of your voice. Behind the scenes of every authentic financial breakthrough, there's someone who discovered their divine design and aligned their declarations with their spiritual purpose. The journey from struggle to supply accelerates dramatically when you realize that your wealth is directly connected to your unique calling, your specific gifts, and the particular way you're meant to serve the world. Think about the profound mindset shift this creates in your approach to abundance. Instead of scrambling for opportunities that feel like work, you begin attracting circumstances that feel like divine alignment. Your creativity flows more freely because you're operating in your designed space. Your clients appear more naturally because you're speaking from your authentic voice. The hidden truth that changes everything is this: your good has always been ahead of you, walking the path you're meant to take, preparing the way for your arrival. It hasn't been hiding from you or playing hard to get. It's been patiently waiting for your voice to catch up with your destiny, for your declarations to align with your divine inheritance. When you speak with authority, "My good rushes toward me, and I am wide awake to receive it," you're not trying to attract something distant. You're acknowledging what has always been in motion toward you. The impact of this revelation transforms your entire emotional relationship with waiting. You stop feeling anxious about when your breakthrough will come and start feeling expectant about how it will arrive. The decisions you make from this consciousness are completely different than decisions made from scarcity or desperation. You begin moving with the confidence of someone whose supply is guaranteed, whose path is prepared, whose good is already en route. This shift in internal positioning creates external circumstances that mirror your new level of certainty. Most people exhaust themselves chasing good that seems to be running away from them. But when you understand divine design, you realize that your good has been chasing you all along, trying to catch up with someone who keeps moving away from their own blueprint through doubt and misalignment. Now, I want to explore the revolutionary concept of wealth identity and reveal how to embody the consciousness of someone who doesn't just have money, but who has become the very frequency of abundance itself. Write Divine Design Activated in the comments if you're ready to stop chasing external validation and start stepping into the spiritual blueprint where your supply, creativity, and calling all converge in perfect harmony. The revolutionary concept of wealth identity reaches its pinnacle when you discover that there's a voice within you that has never been afraid, never experienced lack, and never doubted abundance for even a moment. This isn't your personality speaking or your ego trying to convince itself of something better. This is the Christ nature within you, the divine aspect of your consciousness that knows only dominion, only supply, only unshakable spiritual authority. When you learn to let this deeper voice proclaim your financial reality, everything changes. Instead of speaking from your wounded history or your anxious personality, you begin declaring from the part of you that was never broke, never struggled, never worried about money. This voice speaks with absolute certainty. I am wealth in motion. I am divine supply, personalized. The transformation that occurs when you access this level of consciousness is unlike anything you've experienced through traditional financial strategies. Behind the scenes of every supernatural financial breakthrough, there's always someone who stopped speaking from their human limitation and started proclaiming from their divine inheritance. The mindset shift is profound because you're no longer trying to get wealth. You're remembering that you are wealth. Think about the journey you've taken through these revelations. You began by understanding that money follows speech, not effort. You discovered how to substitute fear with faith declarations. You learned to tithe with your tongue and make withdrawals from the universal bank. But all of these practices have been preparing you for this ultimate recognition. You don't just have access to abundance, you are abundance expressing itself in human form. On the 12th day of this transformation, you must be willing to say what you couldn't speak on the first day. Your voice must carry a conviction that was impossible when you still identified with lack. You declare without hesitation, without apology, without negotiating with appearances. I am wealth. I am the rhythm of divine prosperity made visible. I am the voice of money's master. This isn't positive thinking or affirmation work. This is identity transformation at the deepest level. The impact of this shift extends far beyond your bank account. When you truly know yourself as wealth personified, every decision flows from abundance consciousness. Every conversation carries prosperity vibration. Every step you take leaves tracks of divine supply for others to follow. The decisions you make from this level of consciousness are completely different than those made from, I hope to have money someday, or even, I believe money is coming. You make choices from the unshakable, knowing that you are the source through which divine abundance expresses itself in the material world. Now, I want to reveal the crucial practice of protecting your spoken seed and show you exactly how to seal your declarations so they can grow undisturbed in the invisible realm where all miracles are born. Write, I am wealth, in the comments if you're ready to step into the ultimate identity transformation and speak from the Christ consciousness that has never known lack for even a single moment. The crucial practice of protecting your spoken seed reveals perhaps the most important hidden truth about manifestation. Once you've declared your financial breakthrough, your greatest enemy isn't external circumstances. It's your own tendency to dig up what you've planted through doubt and contradictory speech. The moment you speak abundance with authority, that word becomes a living seed in the invisible realm, containing within itself the entire harvest you're meant to receive. But here's where most people sabotage their own miracles. They plant their seed with a powerful declaration in the morning, then spend the afternoon questioning whether it's working. They speak wealth with conviction on Monday, then worry about bills on Tuesday. They declare divine supply with faith, then call friends to discuss their financial stress. Every time you speak against what you've already decreed, you're literally taking a spiritual shovel and digging up the very seed that was already sprouting in the invisible. The transformation requires you to understand that your job isn't to manage the mystery of how your declarations will manifest. Your job is to let the word rest, work, and become flesh without disturbing it with doubt. Behind the scenes of every delayed miracle, you'll find someone who planted their seed beautifully, but couldn't resist checking on it, questioning it, or speaking against it. Think about the profound mindset shift this creates in your daily conversations. You must train yourself to speak only once about your financial decree, then praise it into manifestation rather than analyzing it into delay. When anxiety arises about how your breakthrough will come, you respond not with worry, but with worship, not with fear, but with faith-filled expectation. The journey from sporadic declaration to sustained transformation happens when you establish what Florence Scovel Shinn understood as spiritual rhythm. The power isn't in occasional affirmation when you remember or feel inspired. The power is in repetition and sustained vibration that becomes the non-negotiable soundtrack of your life. You must make daily declarations as consistent as your heartbeat, as regular as your breathing, as dependable as the sunrise, morning, midday, and evening. Like Daniel, who prayed 3 times daily, not because he was religious, but because he understood that sustained alignment creates sustained results. This isn't superstition. It's spiritual synchronization with divine frequency. The impact of this rhythm extends far beyond the moments when you're actually speaking. Your subconscious mind begins operating from abundance as its default setting rather than something you have to remember to activate. The decisions you make throughout each day become automatically filtered through prosperity consciousness. Most people treat wealth declarations like emergency prayers, something they do when they're desperate or remember to try. But true financial transformation happens when your voice becomes so consistently aligned with abundance that speaking prosperity becomes as natural as speaking your own name. Now, I want to explore the mystical signs and divine confirmations that begin appearing when your spoken word gains momentum in the invisible realm, and reveal exactly how to recognize when your financial breakthrough is about to manifest in the physical world. Write daily rhythm established in the comments. If you're committed to making wealth declarations your non-negotiable spiritual practice 3 times every day until abundance becomes your automatic reality. The mystical signs and divine confirmations that begin appearing when your spoken word gains momentum in the invisible realm are often subtle yet unmistakable to those who know how to recognize them. These signs don't always arrive as dramatic bank deposits or obvious windfalls. Instead, they manifest as sudden peace that washes over you when you think about money. Unexpected conversations with strangers who somehow know exactly what you need to hear. Bills that mysteriously get canceled. Or numbers like 8888 appearing repeatedly on receipts, clocks, and license plates. The revelation here is that heaven speaks symbolically before it speaks literally. The universe begins communicating with you through these gentle confirmations, preparing your consciousness to receive what your voice has been decreeing. Behind the scenes, there's an entire orchestration happening in response to your declarations, and these signs are like breadcrumbs leading you toward your breakthrough. Think about the transformation that occurs when you learn to recognize and celebrate these divine winks instead of dismissing them as coincidence. Every sign becomes evidence that your spoken word is working, that spiritual law is responding, that your financial harvest is already in motion. The impact on your faith is immediate. You stop wondering if this practice works and start expecting the next confirmation. But here's where the journey becomes most challenging and most revealing. Every transformation brings with it what Florence Scovel Shinn understood as the testing of your tongue. Just when you've established rhythm with your wealth declarations, just when signs are beginning to appear, the old patterns will make one final attempt to reclaim your voice. The whispers of doubt become more sophisticated. Instead of obvious fear, they come disguised as reasonable concerns. Maybe I should be more realistic about my timeline. Perhaps I'm being too bold with these declarations. What if people think I'm being presumptuous? These subtle suggestions are designed to make you snap back to your former speech patterns, to return to the familiar territory of limitation-based conversation. The mindset shift that determines your success happens in these moments of testing. When doubt whispers, you must train yourself to speak forward, not backward. When fear suggests you should tone down your declarations, you respond by amplifying them. When logic tries to convince you to return to sensible speech, you commit even more deeply to divine truth. Most people fail their transformation not because the principle doesn't work, but because they couldn't resist the temptation to return to old speech patterns when the testing came. They spoke wealth for a week, then returned to lack-based conversation for a day, canceling out their spiritual momentum and starting the process over again. The decisions you make during these moments of testing reveal whether you're truly committed to your new identity or still attached to your old limitations. Every time you choose to speak forward despite doubt, you're strengthening your spiritual authority and accelerating your manifestation. Now, I want to reveal the ultimate identity transformation that occurs when you finally recognize that you were never actually broken. You were simply operating from the wrong program, and show you exactly how to step into the consciousness of someone whose wealth was never missing, only temporarily hidden by false speech. Write, "I speak forward always" in the comments if you're committed to resisting every temptation to return to limitation-based language and maintaining your wealth declarations even when doubt tries to convince you to retreat. The ultimate identity transformation that occurs through this journey reveals a profound truth that most people never fully grasp. You're not the same person who began this process. The moment you started speaking wealth declarations with consistency, the moment you began tithing with your tongue and making withdrawals from the universal bank, something fundamental shifted in your spiritual DNA. You've spoken too much truth to remain trapped in old lack patterns. Your identity has literally shifted from someone who hopes for wealth to someone who embodies it. This isn't just a mental concept or positive thinking exercise. The transformation happens at the cellular level, in the way you carry yourself, in the decisions you make without even thinking about them. Behind the scenes of this identity shift, your subconscious mind has been quietly rewiring itself to operate from abundance as its default setting rather than something you have to consciously activate. The revelation here is that you must now allow your external behavior to catch up with your internal transformation. You cannot continue moving through the world like someone who's still waiting for their breakthrough when you've already become someone whose wealth was never actually missing, only temporarily hidden by false speech. Your posture must match your prophecy. Think about the profound implications of this shift. When you truly understand that you are wealth expressing itself in human form, you begin walking like the air obeys you, speaking like angels respond to your whisper, making decisions like you are the treasury itself. This isn't arrogance, it's alignment with divine truth about your spiritual inheritance. The journey from victim consciousness to wealth consciousness requires you to start moving through daily life as someone who already holds what you've been declaring. When you enter a room, you carry the energy of abundance. When you have conversations, you speak from overflow rather than need. When opportunities arise, you evaluate them from a position of choice rather than desperation. Most people sabotage their financial transformation because they continue behaving like someone who's broke. Even after they've done the inner work of wealth declaration, they speak abundance in private but carry scarcity energy in public. They declare prosperity in their morning practice but make fear-based decisions throughout the day. This misalignment between internal transformation and external expression creates spiritual static that interferes with manifestation. The decisions you make from this new identity are completely different than those made from your old consciousness. You stop accepting situations that don't honor your worth. You stop tolerating conversations that drain your energy. You start expecting excellent treatment because you know who you are. You begin investing in yourself and your future because you understand that you're not spending money, you're circulating abundance. The final integration phase, where you maintain this transformation permanently, is where most people either solidify their breakthrough or slowly drift back into old patterns. You've now discovered that wealth isn't something you chase, it's something you become. You've learned that your voice carries creative power, that your declarations reshape reality, and that you were never actually broke, just operating from the wrong program. If you've made it this far in our conversation, you understand something that most people will never grasp, that financial transformation happens through spiritual alignment, not just strategic action. You've discovered the hidden truth that money follows speech, not effort, and that your tongue holds the key to unlimited supply. This is exactly the kind of content I create here. Practical spiritual principles that actually work in the real world. If these revelations have shifted something inside you, if you're starting to see money and abundance from a completely different perspective, then you'll want to subscribe to this channel. I consistently share insights that bridge the gap between spiritual truth and financial reality, showing you how to apply divine law to create tangible results in your bank account. For those who truly absorbed this message and stayed with me until the very end, write "Wealth Consciousness Activated" in the comments. I want to connect with the people who are serious about transformation, who understand that this isn't just information, it's initiation into a completely new way of existing. And if this conversation has resonated with you, if you feel like you've discovered something that could change everything about your financial future, show some love with a like. It helps me know that these deeper teachings are landing with the right people. There's a video right here that takes this foundation even deeper, revealing the specific daily practices that maintain this wealth consciousness permanently. Click and continue with me over there, because your transformation is just beginning.